thank you for being here, for doing whatever it is you had to do to carve out a chunk of time right now to be here, to be together. I know that that's no small thing. It's actually a really big deal that you were able to figure out how to do that. And for those of you watching the recording, we're sending love to you right now. If you wanted to be here but couldn't be here, we'll send you love through the recording as well. So hand-in-hand parenting is what brought us together today. And we are an international nonprofit organization that's based in the US, but we are made up of instructors all over the world. And so in addition to the classes and groups that are offered by our instructors, we also have self-guided resources and free resources through our website and through our app as well. And the Parent Club community is another resource that we have at Hand in Hand Parenting, which is an online community that offers an amazing foundation of support and resources, if I do say so myself, as one of the moderators of Parent Club, along with Kathy Gordon and Shaheen Morali. So I'm Emily Murray. I am a mom of two. I have a 9-year-old and a 17-year-old, and we live in Maine along with my husband and my kiddos. And locally, I do this work locally as well. I founded a local Center for Community Supported Parenting and a facilitation approach called Facilitating Community with a local partner about 20 years ago. And building community is really at the heart of what we do. It made perfect sense when I came along to Hand in Hand Parenting and started co-moderating in the Parent Club to really work on bringing that sense of in-person community to online communities. So resourcing you and supporting you is what I love to do. And I'm so excited to be here with you today talking on this particular subject because it's a subject that's really near and dear to my heart. So I have to admit that I am not some expert who has studied burnout and has, miles of studies or some slick thing that will solve all of your burnout problems in 1 hour flat. I really wish it was that simple, and I totally would poof all of our burnout away if I could. But it's not that easy. But I am someone who has experienced some pretty significant burnout in my own life, and I'm on the other side of it. I'm in the phase of working with burnout that's kind of preventive mode. Like I can sense when I'm dipping back in that direction, and I now have some tools and strategies to keep myself out of that place because I don't want to go back there. If you're in there right now, I'm sending love to you. If you're also in a prevention or recovery phase, yay for being here together. So I've also spent about 20 years listening to parents like you and gleaning and pulling wisdom from these communities. And these are parents who have experienced all different kinds of burnout. Burnout has different flavors. So I can say with a fair amount of certainty that the things I'll share with you tonight are real, they are reliable, and these come from well-worn knowledge of parents in the trenches. So my own particular burnout was an experience of feeling really kind of heavy and deflated at the same time. And I also would say sometimes that I felt crispy, like I had, stuck my finger in a light socket and I was the picture of the cartoon picture of someone with their hair on end smoking. Like it was just fizzling out to the world. But I think there were times too where I just kind of felt like I was dragging myself along. But I have learned to find lightness again and laugh again and play again. So there's so much hope and there's so much good support out there to help you buoy yourself right now if you're in it, and to help you keep from sliding back into that place. So first chat opportunity. If any of you have been in burnout or have felt close to burnout or are in it right now, What's your flavor? What's the flavor of burnout? What's a word or a phrase that might describe what burnout feels like to you? If crispy resonated with you, I think that's one that I hear a lot from parents. But if you have a word that is kind of your particular flavor of burnout, I'd love to see it in the chat box. Yeah, stuck. It is. It is just, it's like the walls are like this around you. Like I can scramble sometimes, but then I slide back down. Deflated, yes. Done with everything, yes. Prickly and exhausted, yes. Way too serious. Yeah, it is so hard to find any sense of lightness and play and silliness. I've felt that too, where I'm just going to growl at every single living thing and some inanimate objects nearby because I've got nothing crumbly, coated in tar, faking it. Ugh, yeah, that phrase, that sound. Fed up with all of it, defenestrated, thrown out the window. Yes, overwhelm. Yes, numb. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, inflamed to the bone. Yes. What's the point? Sad. Mm-hmm. No focus. Yeah. Yeah. All of it. Carrying a bucket full of water that could spill over with tears at any moment. Yeah. Yes. All of those things. One step forward, two steps back. Yep. Thank you for sharing these. Keep going if you haven't had a chance to pop it in there, because I think one of the things I hope you take from today's webinar is a sense of, I'm not in this alone. I'm not the only one feeling this. It's really, it's something that a lot of us experience. And I want to look at the context together here. It's really not your fault that these things are happening right now. It's every day we have a series of energy deposits and energy expenses. And it's, I mean, it's an old analogy, but you can't pour from an empty cup. Yeah. We get it. But living that is a completely different thing. And it's not news that depletion means and burnout means that we're in the red. So this happens for so many reasons. The most important one is chronic lack of support for families. You were not supposed to have to figure this all out all by yourself. You were not supposed to have to endure the lack of resources that you're enduring right now. Any person who was experiencing what you're experiencing would be in the same place. So it's not your fault that this is happening. There's a really loud message out there that if we're depleted or not feeling joyful at every moment or treasuring every minute as parents, that we're somehow, it's our fault for not taking time for ourselves. And this is so ridiculous and even toxic, I would say. It's like blaming you for running out of gas when there hasn't been a gas station for hours and hours on end. And people saying, why didn't you just stop for gas? Why did you run out of gas? It's maddening. And if there were a quick and easy solution, I know you would have found it already. You are smart, capable people. So you're not choosing not to be joyful. You're not choosing depletion. I know you're not, but they are happening. They are a symptom of something. And they are a state that you are in. They are not you. They don't define you. This happens to everybody. This happened to me too. So until we solve this lack of family support situation that we're in, we do have to find some little ways to refuel that are doable and impactful, because we don't have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of resources. So the things that we do have to really be impactful. So by refuel, I mean deeply nourishing experiences that can be done in small amounts of time with little or no monetary expense. And there are things we can do by ourselves, and there are things we can do together. And just being here together in a community right now is part of what can help us heal from depletion and burnout. So the three things that I want to share with you um, today, coming from the Hand in Hand toolbox that's available to you, are special time, and actually it's two kinds of special time that you can do. Building a community and different ways that you can do that can kind of help you create some guardrails on depletion so you don't tip into full-on burnout, and how to use listening partnership, the listening partnership tool, to dump out the things that we take in on a daily basis and refuel with the things that we need. So I'll start with special time. Special time, it isn't this like tra-la-la skipping through roses, or like a sweet cuddle while you're happily perusing a book with your child. It might be like those things do happen. You could do that for special time, but it's so much more than the activity itself. And this is a message that I want you to hear throughout today's webinar. It's not so much what you're doing, it's how you're doing it that can make little things more impactful for you. Has everyone heard of special time? Pop in the chat if this is your first time hearing the word special time. What's your level of special time understanding? First time, beginner, regular, pro level? Is anyone doing it daily? I can't figure out how to do it daily. More of a spontaneous weekly person, or a few minutes here and there myself. Regular, beginner, awesome. Yeah, awesome. Oh, that's so good. Know it, but can't get around to doing it. I hear you. Me too. Me too. Yep. Understand it, but need to schedule it. Yep. Sporadic. That works. Good. I'm there too. I sneak in some sporadic stuff as well. Mixed. Awesome. So for those of you who are relatively new to special time, what it is simply a commitment of giving your full attention to your child for the amount of time that you set on the timer. And this can be something that you plan and say, on Friday nights, we always do special time at 4 o'clock. I cannot for the life of me figure out how to schedule special time. And I've been doing this for over a decade. So if you're struggling, you're not the only one. I am way more of a spontaneous listening time kind of gal. But for that 10 minutes, or whatever the amount of time, you commit to delighting in them as they are, beaming your approval, following their lead, and let them choose how to spend the time as much as you can. I mean, we can't fly to Disney in a 10-minute special time. You could dream with them what that trip would be. And then your job is to do your best to keep the distractions of the day at bay and just sink into that time. And it almost can feel like it has a timeless quality, although some days it does feel like torture to me. And I'm like, when is that timer going to go off? But it can have a bit of a timeless quality. And the key is that they get 100% of you during that time, as often as you can return to that 100%. And it's really the quality of your attention that makes special time special, not the activity itself. So we do use a timer in special time to mark the beginning and end of this special attention, mostly because it's so hard to keep our focus for extended periods of time at that level, at that full wattage level. So if you're new to that, it might feel weird that you're timing connection time with your child, but give it a try. Just test it out and see how it works. For me, the timer is as much for me as it is my child, because the days where it feels like torture, I'm like, I can do this for 5 minutes. And I set the timer and I know it's going to end. So I know that I can bring my full self for those 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And in this time of multitasking, I don't know about your to-do list, but mine is pretty long these days. Little side hustles, hobbies, projects, whatever, chores that I'm never going to get to. Giving our full attention to anything, it's not easy. My local partner calls this nutrient dense attention and connection. And I love thinking about this idea of, and again, this is where I'm weaving this. It's not what you're doing, it's how you're doing these things. Nutrient dense attention and connection is a thing that we're aiming for. And it's like the difference between an amazing bowl of delicious, flavorful, warm, hearty soup and a cup of lukewarm instant noodles. And no judgment on the instant noodles. I am really glad they exist and have partaken many a time in them, and they get you fed. They fill your belly, they get you fed, you're not hungry anymore. That's wonderful. And it's hard to live on lukewarm noodles. So the thing is that even that hearty bowl of soup, it's even better if you're enjoying it with someone that you enjoy spending time with. Um, See where I'm going? It's like if you're going to connect, how can you plump it up? How can you layer in more nutrients to this 5 minutes that you have? So tonight we're going to do this throughout each section, looking for ways to turn up the volume, amplify um, these connection moments, so you can get this refueling from the things that you can actually access that are within arm's reach. So apologies, this is another food reference, but I think it's applicable here. So humans need to breathe, humans need to eat, humans take food in, we pass food out, and we also need connection in our lives. We need air in our lives. These are basic, essential needs. And when my firstborn was going through a grazing stage in the toddler years, I started feeling panicky about how they weren't getting the nutrients they needed. Um, I didn't know at that time how common it was for toddlers to have these like feast or famine phases where they would just kind of, I'm like, are you eating air? Like, how are you surviving? I didn't know that they would ultimately rebound and find their appetite again. So I felt like I had to do something. So I gave my child vitamin supplements because I thought at least they're getting something. I don't know if vitamin supplements did anything for them, if they had any real impact on their health, but I felt better. I knew that nutrients were going in because I could see the vitamin going into their body. And it was something besides crackers and cheese. And so special time has felt to me like that insurance policy of the vitamins, where I know that if I'm kind of checked out for most of the day or most of the week, and I'm just kind of struggling to exist, that if I can rally for those 5 minutes of special time, that they have really felt me. My kid felt seen, felt connected. And it really helped to lift a lot of the parent guilt that I felt during the worst of my burnout and depletion phase, because I knew that these checkpoints of connection were happening here and there, and it took a lot to do them some days. And some days they were wonderful, and they were also refueling for me when they happened. Sometimes special time can be a refuel for us. It's not always an expense. Um, So you can think of these as little mini meals, little snacks along the way that show your child, I am still here and loving you. I can shower some attention your way. Um, so give it a try and see if it lifts any sense of not enoughness that you might be feeling as a parent. Um, and if you can't actually make special time happen, sometimes just thinking about special time or thinking about how you would use that time and just delighting in your child from afar, where maybe you just take 1 minute while they're doing something across the room and think, oh, you are a delightful human being, even if they were a jerk earlier. Right now, I'm holding the truth that you are a wonderful human being. and I am feeling and sending love your way, and you're perfect just the way you are in this one moment, while I'm sending this toward you. And so just beam that sense of special time for that 1 minute and just let that be what you do. Because we can beat ourselves up about lots of things as parents. And special time, whether you're getting it in or not, does not need to be yet another thing that you haven't gotten to today. So feel free to use kind of stealth special time every now and then if you can't make it to full on special time. But I want to tell you about this super magical refuel option that special time can work for you too. So I don't know about you, but when was the last time anyone followed your lead and delighted in you and focused just on being pleased with you? This does not happen very often as adults, or ever. Has it ever happened? But it's something that you might bring to listening partnerships, which is something I'll share in just a couple minutes. It could be something you do with a friend or a partner. Um, and just imagine for a moment that someone said, "Do you want to do special time? I have 10 minutes just for you." I mean, you might just sleep through it. And actually, I have slept through some listening times. Um, but what might be something that you would want to play? Just start letting that percolate. What would I do if I had the energy? If it wasn't just sleep, what might I do? Um, and or maybe what would you geek out about? Maybe there's a topic or a thing that you love to talk about, but um, you don't bring it out that often because you're not sure if someone will be judgy or if you're talking about it too much. I did one special time with a listening partner where I just went through my Pinterest board. I don't know if I'm dating myself. Is Pinterest even a thing anymore? I love it. But I went through and I was like, oh, here's this project that I pinned like 3 years ago that I've never done. But look at this pattern. Isn't this fun? I could knit this right up in all my spare minutes that I didn't have. But going through the Pinterest board and talking about the things that I wanted to make just for 5 minutes or whatever it was like I could feel a spark returning to me. I could feel lightness happening because I got to think about something that was just for me, that just I wanted to do. And I knew that my listening partner, no matter what I said, was going to say, "Ooh, tell me more." And that they couldn't get tired of hearing about that subject. Um, so imagine that you could talk about anything you wanted or do whatever you wanted, and you were guaranteed that the person on the other end would be like, "Ooh, tell me more." Um, I don't know. Is anything coming to mind? Put it in the chat if you have um, any thoughts about what would you do with special time, maybe a half hour. Let's even say a half hour of full on attention. You could pick whatever you wanted to do. Would you tell someone to paint your toenails? Would you make them wash your dishes? Work on a puzzle together? Oh, imagine that. Imagine someone just sitting down and saying, "You have 100% of me right now." It would be amazing to just soak in that attention. So if that doesn't sound doable, I completely understand. I know it's hard enough to schedule a doctor's appointment, let alone create special time for yourself. Um, but you might be able to try this stealth special time idea on yourself too. One of our hand-in-hand instructors, Kirsten Nodelson down in Texas and here in the US, recently inspired an email thread about self special time. And it could be as simple as setting a 2-minute timer and committing to just basking in the sun for those 2 minutes, just breathing. I'm just going to breathe and feel sunlight for 2 minutes. That's all I'm going to do. And um, each time a to-do list item creeps in, I'm just going to commit to returning myself, to appreciating myself in this moment. All I do, all the things that I'm working so hard at, all the things I've overcome. The other day I did 10 minutes on a sewing project. I never get a chance to sew, but my sewing machine sits out with a potential project. And the quality of my attention on myself during that 10 minutes felt so good. And I felt like, oh, I accomplished a little thing. Like, it was a tiny little project and I didn't even finish it, but it felt so good to finish or do something. So I hope you'll give that a try. Whatever tiny little speck of that feels doable, if it's just, I'm going to take 3 breaths in the sun and imagine Emily saying, "Oh, you are doing such a great job under ridiculous circumstances right now. I'm so appreciating you. Oh, look at all you're doing. Thank you. Thank you for this hard work." Just feel that come around yourself. So our second focus tonight is um, building a sense of community, however, wherever, whenever you can. And I know that old saying, "it takes a village to raise a child" thing is a bit overdone, but there is some truth there. Honestly, though, I don't think it's about the child. I think it's really about parents, because when parents are cared for and tended to, they are able to tend to their children. So the quote really should be, "it takes a community supporting each other to help things go well," because I know the parent you want to be is really amazing, and it can be hard to reach the place where you can be that and do that because of depletion, because of burnout, because you're under resourced and under supported. So how do we find each other? How do we find the time to be together? I mean, I bet it feels kind of miraculous that you made it here tonight. So how does it not become one more thing on our to-do list where we might show up, but we don't get that nourishing give and take that community can offer us? Like, is it worth it? Is it worth it to try to get to this thing? Like, what if it's a dud and I've just spent all this energy on something that's not refueling? Um, that's a very reasonable question and a very real hurdle. And another thing that's not your fault. Some things might be a flop, and some things you might finally catch it. And life is just not set up to support this kind of finding of community. So we have to do this together. If we all keep reaching out for each other, then we'll be able to find each other. We'll be able to connect. Um, and I think that's what makes these little oases of support and togetherness so important, because even spending 1 hour, even once a month, checking in with other parents about just a high and a low, or having a hearty laugh or a good cry, or I mean, even just finishing a thought. It is very necessary nourishment that you need as much as you need food and air. So I have a few logistical ideas that I will share with you that you can kind of fish through and see which one has the most promise for me about how to find each other, and a few tips for making these connections that more nutrient dense connection, like that old stone soup story where everyone brings an ingredient and they all end up eating a hearty meal together. Before I share my ideas, has anyone been able to find this or make this locally or online? Um, what are some examples of something you do that feels like nutrient dense community, now that you have this idea of nutrient dense versus just showing up and kind of putting in an hour of doing whatever it is? Um, what feels like nutrient dense community where you leave kind of feeling a little softer or a little lighter? Does anyone have any suggestions or ideas about things that are working for you already? Pop them in the chat so um, we can kind of pull ideas from each other. So if you're lucky enough to live in a town where there is let's see, neighborhood chats, yeah, just running into a person and looking at each other and being like, "Hey, how's it going? I really mean it. How's it going?" Um, yeah, some time to hanging out with, actually getting a little bit of parent to parent time while kids are hanging out, chatting with other parents at school drop off, a local recovery group meeting. Yeah, those can be rich oases. I don't know what the word is. Listening partnerships. Yes. Being outdoors, church community. Yes. Talking to other parents at school, meeting up with other parents in the evening. Yes. Kind of stealing away whenever, wherever you can. Whatever time you can grab. And don't be afraid to grab little chunks of time. It doesn't have to be, a 3-hour retreat. It can be a 2-minute conversation and you leave with a laugh. That can be a refueling moment. So Instructors all around the world offer classes and groups. So if you have an instructor in your local community, reach out to them and say, do you have anything going on? Don't you want to make something? They might just. You can find a list of instructors on the Hand in Hand website. Um, any parent support group of any kind, uh, if it's going on where you live, give it a try and see if it's your flavor. It might take a few times to not feel awkward anymore, but just kind of sit and absorb and be in a space where other people are working on connection too. Some are more nutrient dense than others. Some feel a little more surface than others. You can consider starting one of your own. And I know that sounds like more work, um, but we do have some resources on our website about how to start a book group using the book Listen that Patty Whipfler, our Hand in Hand founder, and Tasha Shore wrote together. Sometimes offering a book group, offering an excuse to come together is a great way to 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 build a connection. Another parent might agree to kind of co-pilot it with you, and then you've got the beginnings of connection. So sometimes we have to make it ourselves. And online support is an option too. We do offer the parent club community here at Hand in Hand. It's an online community. It is a subscription-based service, but you get same-day coaching. Usually Kathy Gordon, Shaheen, Morali are in there every day. I pop in here and there. I'm a little more behind the scenes these days. Kathy also does a weekly Ask Me Anything where you can pop in with questions. So whether it's Parent Club or another online community, sometimes that's enough. But how to make it more nutrient dense, whatever experience you're reaching for, I am convinced that we can amplify the connections of nearly any activity that we do to make it more mutually fulfilling and deeper level. It can be as simple as starting a conversation or a get together with a high and a low. Each person shares something that's going well and something that's been hard. And that personal connection of, I see you, you see me. Some things are good, some things are hard, can just be so deeply nourishing. Following listening partnership guidelines about not advising or not judging can make any group experience so much better if everyone can agree that advice giving and judgments are not welcome, but sharing support, sharing encouragement. Occasionally, here's what worked for me, but I know there's no one right way kind of offering can happen in parent support groups and under that kind of umbrella. Um, in fact, adding a whole listening partnership component, that would be a game changer. If you can add actual listening time to any of these community resources that you might already have access to. We have resources on the Hand in Hand website about how to start listening partnerships. And we have a new space that's going to be available in July where parents can find each other for listening partnerships as well. So one other little thing is, I mean, in-person connections are wonderful. They really are. But even just having a text thread among several parents where you can laugh or share resources or say, hey, does anyone have 5 minutes for listening time, can be such a meaningful foundation for community to grow. It's like the fertile ground for deeper connections, for more support to grow. So look for opportunities to set something like that up as an inroad with other people, because I know parents everywhere are like, oh, I wish I had more support. I wish I had more connection. I wish I had more parent friends where it felt like a really nourishing relationship. So you're all out there trying to reach for each other. So give it a try. Be the one that takes the lead and says, hey, do you want to text? About this upcoming event thing that kids are doing, and then it might turn into something more. So I wonder if anyone has any, if you're liking this idea of nutrient weak and nutrient dense spaces, are there any nutrient dense things that I just mentioned that you think, oh, that might work. That might work in my already available space. What might they go for? A high and a low, listening partnerships. Do you know people who might like to dip in with a book group? What thing might you add into something already going on in your community to amplify that connection? Did anything kind of register for you as that is low hanging fruit? I think we could do that. I see someone said book club as a starting point. Yeah. Someone organized a tired mums dance, early dance session. Oh, but you know what? Even if that never came to be, the laughter that a parent could feel reading that, feeling seen, oh, that would be so good. High and a low book club. Yeah. So the last thing I want to share with you tonight is a little bit more about this listening partnership tool that is part of hand-in-hand parenting. So listening partnerships are actually the reason that I chose to become a certified instructor with hand-in-hand parenting, because um, of all the approaches out there that I kind of gravitated toward or appreciated or liked bits and pieces from what they were saying or doing, they had great ideas and helpful tips, but I could not for the life of me get those ideas out from my head and into practice, especially in those hot moments where my toddler was being defiant at me and I was feeling triggered. Um, so, how to do those things? I was like, that is a great idea. I want to do that. How do I actually do that? Um, so, listening time was key for me in paving the way for those ideas to get out of just idea mode and into practice. Um, it's really parents tell us every day it's what allows them to keep perspective through these really hard times, especially when we're so depleted and isolated, because we can tell ourselves stories about how it's all our fault if we could only just and really just having that time with a listening partner where you can be yourself and you can cry those tears um, is so uplifting. It is one of the most powerful refuels you can do, and it can kind of lift off that heaviness of parent guilt and self blame. Um, we can pour out that kind of sense of hopelessness, or we can kind of give light to any fears that we might have percolating that's kind of molding in there. Anytime there's air and light of listening time, that mold kind of dissipates a little bit. Um, and it is a true counter to that sense of isolation that we all tend to feel when we're in these more depleted states, that you can enjoy time with another person and that that person can enjoy time with you. It just kind of resets our perspective. We can believe in ourselves just a little bit more. Um, how's everyone doing with listening time? What's your like we did with special time? If you were to rate yourself from 1 to 10, 1 being I just heard about listening time right now, and 10 being I've got a semi-regular practice going of listening time. Where are you on that rating from 1 to 10? 1, yay! Now you've heard about it. I'm so glad. Game changer, let me tell you. Oh, yay. I'm so excited for you who are in the 1s and 2s and 3s, especially. This is a really powerful tool. Yeah. Had a regular practice, went in a lull, that happens. Oh, didn't hear the scale. 1 is I'm a brand new beginner. 10 is I've got a regular practice. Awesome. Regular, life-changing. Yes. 10. Nice. That is no small feat. Yay. So listening partnerships, let me tell you what it is. Shockingly simple, but of course, simple doesn't always equal easy. So you still have to kind of figure out the logistics as if you didn't have enough logistics in your life. But it can be done in short amounts of time, and the return on this exchange is huge. So start small. Think of 10, 5, 10, 15 minutes of time. And in a nutshell, listening time is you find another person who is interested in trying listening time. You agree not to judge or interrupt one another with advice or this is what I did kinds of solutions. We agree not to refer to what is said in listening time once the timer goes off. And the role of the listener is to just listen and beam our approval and our belief that the person taking the turn is good and capable of figuring things out. And then when that person is done taking a turn, the listener becomes the person who is sharing, and the person who is sharing becomes the listener. And usually we do like a quick little question in between, so the person who is sharing has a chance to kind of get up and out of those feelings. But each person takes a turn of the same amount of time sharing what's hard or whatever is on their mind. And again, you know, back when I referenced necessary things for our existence as humans, in the same way that we take in food and we have to eliminate food out of our bodies, we take in daily emotional experiences and we have to find ways to get those feelings up and out of our bodies and minds and hearts too. So um, this is, you know, gross analogy alert. This is like having an emotional poop every now and then. You wouldn't want to go days without an actual poop. You don't want to go days without being able to let your emotions out too. Um, so so kind of do a scan of who is around you and who might be a good candidate. Or in July, we have coming up a listening challenge that a bunch of instructors are putting together in our new listening partnership space that you could try. It's 10 days of little prompts for how to get started. So that might be a great kind of inroad. Or all next month in Parent Club, we're going to be focusing on you, the parents, and how to support you. And finding and matchmaking listening partnerships is really a huge piece of what we do in Parent Club too. So great resources are here for you to figure this out. So it might feel small that, oh, what is 10 minutes going to do? But I promise you that 10 minutes can just like peel that wet blanket off of you. You'll feel lighter. You might feel more able to connect and feel that little spark of maybe I could be joyful again. And it gives you fuel to make it through your day. For me, it's a place where I kind of dump out all the things I kind of want to say at my children in a reactive way. So when those tough moments come out, those things don't blurt out of my mouth at them in an angry, loud, rageful way. I'm able to save those for listening time and blurt them out there. So that's my key for being the parent I want to be more of the time. I'm not perfect. I still get cranky with them and harsh with them, but way less than I used to. So regular scheduled listening time is gold. That is wonderful. Hard to do um, for lots of reasons. But it is nice to know that my weekly and monthly listening partnerships are there because I know I don't have to go too long kind of holding all this stuff in. So think of it as both a refuel and a trash depot that you want on a regular basis, whether you can schedule it or just kind of do a grab and go. We're going to be experimenting with a new option in our Parent Club space, and actually the listening challenge that will happen in July is going to be part of this experiment where we can do kind of, I have 15 minutes right now. Is anyone available for listening time? Spontaneous listening time. So if that seems more your style, we will be playing with that option, and hopefully you can come try it out with us. So this is a practice that you can grow and build over time. If you start with spontaneous listening time, maybe you might find someone who's a great match and you can set up regular times. And it may feel weird at first, but I promise the more you try it, the more you'll have a sense of how to use it. And access those free resources on our website. If you just type in listening partnerships, great resources will bubble to the top. And Parent Club community is a wonderful place to kind of hone the skill and work on the skill or get started with it, because there's so much built-in support and even weekly calls that you can access where you can practice it with Kathy, usually Shaheen on Wednesdays, I believe. So you get listening time from a hand-in-hand instructor who can kind of guide the group. So a good training wheels experience. So whatever you do next, reach for each other, reach for that listening time. Hopefully we'll see you at the listening challenge or in the parent club community in the next month. We would love to offer you support there. It's really juicy, wonderful connections that parents make. See if it's a fit, find a new connection. You get a 2-week free trial in parent club to see if it's for you. So we'd love to make that available to you. And whatever direction you go, whether it's the free resources on the website or a local class or parent club, I hope something from tonight's time feels like, oh, that's a foothold that I can grab onto to help myself start getting out of this place of depletion and overwhelm and burnout. You're doing immensely important work, really, truly the most important work in the world, being a parent raising young children, and it deserves so much support. And we'll keep listening and creating spaces with you and for you here at Hand in Hand. So let us know what you need. Keep reaching for each other. And anytime you're feeling that doubt, you can just kind of tap into a Hand in Hand community and feel our love beaming your way, feel our appreciation beaming your way for doing this particular hard work in this particular moment in time. We're in it with you together. So I will switch over in our last 10 minutes or so to some Q&A, and we can see what we can figure out together. If you have questions about a place where you're feeling stuck and you might like an idea about how to navigate over a hurdle, how to do listening time, ideas about special time, what gets in the way of special time. I'll answer as many questions as I can for you. Pop them in the Q&A though, rather than the chat, so we can see. And I'm just going to peek at chat here. Oh, great. Thank you, Kathy. This is Kathy from Parent Club, who's doing our little chat maintenance today. So this is really, Kathy does this all day, every day. She just pops in, here's a resource, here's a resource, here's some love in our Parent Club community. Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, someone talking about how much listening time has helped so much healing and growth. All right, let me pop over in the Q&A. Let's see. Do you have to join the Facebook group to find a listening partner? No, you do not. In fact, the Facebook group, we made a decision last year to move away from Facebook as the platform for our community building for lots of reasons. So we now have our own hand-in-hand parenting network. You can find it by going to join.handinhandparenting.org. And our network is kind of a central hub for accessing lots of different parts of Hand in Hand. So through that central network, you can access Parent Club, you can access our free Hand in Hand Basics class, and you'll be able to access this new free listening partnership connection space that will be available in July. So we're almost there. Hold tight, it's coming. But we'll have free access to that listening partnership space so you can find each other again. That was the thing we missed the most about Facebook. Let's see, any tips for how to do special time when one child is extremely demanding and also jealous of the other child? Yeah, in fact, special time is a great time to work on that sense of sibling rivalry of, I cannot share my parent. They are only for me. I will not share them with my sibling. If there is another adult that might agree to try this with you, they could be the one that kind of, maybe they're doing special time with your jealous child while you're doing special time with your other child. And it might not be enough. They might still be like, no, I want my parent, not this other imposter. But that person might be willing to just say, oh, I hear you. You really do want your parent. I know, but I'm here with you right now. I'll help you wait. And you can keep that listening time really short. 2 minutes. I mean, sorry, special time. You can keep that special time to like 2 minutes. So your very jealous child doesn't have to endure that painful feeling for so long. And you might even kind of toggle back and forth between the two with little chunks, um, in order to give your other child really, truly your full attention. You might try to find times where your jealous child is not there, that you can give them a little dose here and there of that, like, you really have me, I'm not distracted at all, kind of attention. We have an article on our website about doing special time with more than one child that has, I think, about 10 different ideas for how to logistically manage that. There might be some other ideas in there that could be useful for you. But smaller chunks of time, if you have another adult who might kind of come in and play with this with you, that could be really helpful. Let's see. You can pepper in some outside of special time, some games around separation anxiety with your jealous child. This could be a fun thing to do just throughout the week. There's another wonderful resource on our website, uh, 20 ways to play with separation anxiety, I think is the name of it. But a really wonderful list of ways to play with this sense of they want me, but they can't have me. A classic is you could initiate a tug of war with another adult. We're like, no, they're mine. I want them. You can't have them. Or they try to leave the room and you're like, no, no, come back. I can't live without you. But kind of hamming it up and playing with that sense of give them a chance to refuse you rather than you refusing them, which was what special time with their sibling feels like. So see if that can kind of help de-escalate, de-inflame that moment. Let's see. I struggle with finding genuine listening partnership as I don't feel like I want to ask for it from the people in my life. I just wish it was formed more organically. Yes, you are not alone. In fact, I actually don't like doing listening time with anyone that I really run into on a regular basis, anyone in my normal life. I have a few in-person listening partnerships, but they're not with people that I am regularly with personally or professionally. So connecting through this new space that will be available for hand-in-hand parents might be one way where you just say, I'm available on Mondays at noon for a half an hour. Anybody else? And just connect with them by FaceTime, by Zoom, by phone, however it is. Parent Club is another amazing resource because when you're in that community where other parents are really working hard on this same subject, there's a lot of motivation there for listening partnerships to happen and to go well. So that can be another way to do it. Doing a class with an instructor has built-in listening partnership time every single week. So getting it started that way, getting the ball rolling that way might be useful. This listening challenge that's coming up will be an amazing resource. I don't know if I have a link to share with you about that because it's just rolling out now. I think there's a link in the events page on our website. If you click on For Parents on the Hand in Hand website, there's a classes and events tab there that I think has a link to it. Let's see, what do I say with a kid for special time, how to set it up? And also, can your spouse be a listening partner? Ooh, good question. I'll hit the special time one first. So special time is as simple as saying, hey, I have 5 minutes for some special time with you. What do you want to do? And you set the timer and you just make yourself available. And it can be awkward at first because kids are like, what are you talking about? 5 minutes? What can we do in 5 minutes? Or it might be actually one of the really great ways I have fit special time into my world is If I notice my child is kind of wanting my attention for something, I will say, "Oh, you want me to come look at at what you're building? Let's see. I've got 15 minutes for some special time. Let me set the timer and you've got me." And I set the timer and I go dive in with all of my attention to delight in what they're doing and give them that attention that they're looking for. So kind of in a spontaneous way, you could make a moment of an attention request into special time just by naming it and timing it. And when the timer goes off, you say, "Oh, that's the end of special time. I've got to go stir the soup. Um, I'll be right back." Or you can come with me and stir if you want. But that end of special time um, is key too. Sometimes it brings up some feelings. So maybe if you have 15 minutes, you only set the timer for 10, just in case there's a little upset or listening when that timer goes off. Um, let's see. Oh, can your spouse be your listening partner? It is possible. I only do that in very emergency situations because um, the things we often need to talk about in listening time are very connected with probably things that our partner needs to talk about in listening time too. So there can be a lot of triggering each other, or I might feel responsible for something that my partner brings up, or they might feel resentful about me complaining about something that's kind of technically on their plate. So it's dicey waters to do listening time with your partner. Um, but if both of you agree to follow the listening partnership guidelines, I just don't know that I would make a habit of it. I would probably try to find another resource if you can. Let's see. And let's see, what if the special time child allows the other child to join? I mean, you could roll with it, but I would encourage you to, let that happen a few times and see how it goes, with you keeping as much as you can your full attention on the child whose turn it is. And then see how it goes, see what happens, see what the chemistry is. And then you might say, "Oh, not today. Today is just you and me. You get me today." Nope, they're going to stay in the other room. And just see what comes up. I would be curious to experiment with why they feel like they have to have someone else in it with them. It might just be for fun. So that's why you can experiment with it, but just tinker with that and see if you say yes, what happens? If you say no, what happens? And let it be kind of an open experiment that you do together. Twins. Yes. Oh, even more important to just kind of poke at that. We always have to be together. We always have to do this together. Thing that is it's a twin thing. Yeah, do a little poke here and there and just see. It could go well. It could be really hard for them. But it might be an interesting way to start helping them kind of settle into their own identities, separate from each other, even though they'll always have that special connection too. So we have reached the end of our time together today. I think I even got to all the questions, which feels like a miracle. Thank you all for being here, for sharing these wonderful things that you shared in the chat. I just love seeing what you're all doing and how you're all using these tools or thinking about these things, and just knowing that you're out there and I'm out here and we're here together always leaves me feeling filled up and hopeful about the world. So I hope we'll see you in Parent Club. I hope we'll see you in the listening challenge coming up, or even just in the Hand in Hand Basics, the free space on our app and in the Hand in Hand network. We have lots of resources available, so keep reaching out, keep looking for these little opportunities to be together. Thanks all.